Okay guys, here's a little backstory. I made a want to buy post for a GHK AKM because I wanted to pit that against my TM AKM. I got someone who messaged me and said that he had a GHK AKM. So I'm like, okay, let's see what you have. So he sends me this picture, which looks like an AK-74 with some redwood furniture. And I'm more into the AKM look because I have an AKM for the TM. So I just saw it and I was asking the regular questions. Are there issues with the AK? Why are you selling? Where are you located? Just those general questions. So I'm talking to the guy. He says there's no issues with the AK and he just picked one up because he heard all the praise that the GHK AK's got, which is the same reason why I wanted to pick one up. He mentions that he doesn't mind trading it for an M4, so I have an M4 that I have up for sale. I send him some photos because he wants to see them, and I mentioned I prefer the full stock, not the wire stock that he showed in the previous picture. So he sees my M4. He says he likes how it looks, but he's debating whether he wants to sell it or trade it. I'm interested in buying it because I still have some other stuff to do with the M4, so I don't mind paying if I need to. He says there's no internal upgrades and he doesn't have a shooting video, and he'll get some gas later to get that shooting video. So then he says that he's going to take one on the weekend. He just needs to get some green gas. He sends me a video saying that he found one in his camera roll, which has a bit of slow-mo in it. I found this a little bit unusual because he said he would grab green gas on the weekend, and he got it to me within an hour or two. It was not a big concern, but it just seemed weird because he said he would get it later. So he sends me the shooting video. It's in slow-mo, which isn't a big deal, but I asked him if it will come with the classic furniture as opposed to the red furniture. He says that it will come with whatever I prefer, so I figure that he probably had the original furniture somewhere and he was just gonna swap it out when selling it to me. I then mentioned to him that the second picture he sent with the classic furniture looks like it's got the 7.62 mags, whereas the first picture he sent had the AK-74 5.45 mags. He said that both of them are GHK mags and they're both compatible, which is correct. And he just says that he also has a 74 that he uses the 5.45s with. I'm like, okay, that seems fine. But in my head, I was thinking this guy has two GHK AKs. And the reason I assumed he had two was because the gas block on the other AK it looked slightly different than the one on the AKM. So then I ask him if he has more mags, and I also ask for pictures of the internals just to see the wear on the internals. Taking a look at the internals, it looks pretty good. It doesn't look like there's too much wear, but it's also hard to tell on camera. But overall, it looks like a decent piece. Next, I ask him about if there's any problems he knows about, because I know there's a few problems with the GHK AK, but I'm not 100% too familiar. Then I ask him, how much is it going to cost, including shipping, to ship to my house? And he gave me a price. He said $745, and I wasn't 100% ready to make the buy because I don't really have the space right now for the gun. So then I tell him I'd have to get back to him because I'm not 100% committed to the buy. So he then mentions that there's a few interested parties. But that doesn't make sense here because he didn't post the gun. First of all, this was a want to buy on my end, so he messaged me. And when I did verify to check if he's selling it, there were no ads on his profile. So I was just kind of wondering, why is he trying to push the sale? Because I already said no, and if he has other people interested in it, then he can sell to them because I wasn't fully committed. He then says that it's not firm on price, so I can make an offer. I then tell him that I'll give an answer to him by tonight, and I offered 600 ship, which is pretty low, but I wasn't really 100% committed to buying it unless it was a really good price, since I don't have the space, and I still have a bunch of other guns to test, so the only reason I would buy it is if it was a really good price. So then he says that you've got a deal. And I was surprised. I'm like, 600 ship? That's a steal. But at the same time, I'm like, it seems kind of too good to be true, because if he already has a few other people interested, why would he take my low offer? 600 ship seems very low, which is why I was kind of a bit skeptical, but I was kind of happy because if the deal did go through, then it's a really good deal for a good quality gun, 2 mags. So he sends me this picture of the GHK AK in the box with an extra bottle of lube, the manual. It looks like it's in brand new condition. So I'm really excited because it looks like a brand new gun. Like, And for 600 shipped, it seems so good. So then I mentioned to him that he only has one voucher and I have around 15. So I wonder if he could do collect on delivery and I'll pay for the collect on delivery, or if he could provide an address or some ID. I mentioned to him the last seller sent me a tracking number and I sent him the password, and that I was open to other suggestions just in case he didn't feel comfortable giving me his ID. So he completely ignores my question, and I'm just thinking it's fine because if he has the if I have the password to give to him, then after he ships it, then that should be okay, right? And then I ask him, does he have any other guns for sale? And I asked him this because I want to make sure that he has the two AKs. And over here, I find it's a little weird because he tells me that he's selling a TM M&P pistol, and he's also has a pink P90 that his girlfriend uses, and he's selling that too. So I find it weird that he didn't sell his other AK because he said that he was getting out of the sport, and if you're getting out of the sport, why not sell everything, right? So things didn't add up over here. So I tell him that I'm not interested in the MNP because originally I was just asking him just to see if he actually has the other AK because I assumed that he has two, but it could be my mistake. Maybe he just has one and he swapped around the furniture. But then it doesn't make sense that he has more mags to sell unless he's keeping the other gun, which was a little confusing, but I just gave him the benefit of the doubt and was like, okay, it seems okay, but I'm still kind of uncomfortable with his responses and how he answers the questions. So then I confirm with him that I sent the money and it just requires a password, and I'll send the password tomorrow after he sends a tracking number. On the day of, I just confirm with him, hey, just confirming, are you still able to drop off the package today? He says that he's heading there now. And then I said, I just want to make sure that I get your messages because I'm going to be at work and I want to send you the password right away. So he then mentions that he found a cheaper shipping option using a flat rate box, which cut the price in half. And now this doesn't make any sense because there's only three sizes of flat rate box. There's small, medium, and large. And there's no way, even in a large, that the AK could fit in a flat rate box. So I was like, are you sure? Because the ones that I've seen in the post office are way too small to fit an AK. And he says that he took off the stock and it's an extra large flat rate box. So then I'm just like, that doesn't make sense, but okay, I'll just go with it. I asked him if he sent a picture before he packed it, and he said it slipped his mind, so he doesn't have that. So at this point, I'm like, it's a high likelihood that this is a scam because he's just changing the shipping method on me, and like what I'm just wondering, what is he doing? It doesn't make sense that he would take off the stock because if you go to work and your break is from 11 to 12, you go to the post office, you're not going to go back in your car, take the AK out of the box, remove the stock in your car. You're just going to ship it. From a time standpoint, you're not going to have the time to do that, and it just doesn't seem responsible to be doing that to an airsoft gun in public. So I was just like, I feel like this guy, I already had like a feeling that he was scamming, but now I'm like, I know for sure it's a scam. After he switches it from a flat rate box, he sends me the flat rate box label, and usually when you get something shipped, it comes with a long receipt that shows the shipping weight, how much you paid for the package, and all that information. So I wanted to confirm the shipping weight because I bought a TM-AK before, and the shipping weight for the TM-AK was 5.8 kilos. So I'm expecting this to be 6 or above kilos because it comes with two mags. And if it's steel, so it's going to be heavy. So I look up the tracking number that it gives me, and I'm like, this is odd because I've never got a tracking number that wasn't all numbers. It was GD, came with 9 numbers and then CA at the end. I've never seen that before, so it was a little weird. So I looked it up, didn't pop up. He insists that he sent the package, and I'm like, okay, I'll wait a few minutes. And can you send a picture of the receipt, like how with all the weight, how much he paid for the shipping? And I gave him an example of what it should look like because that's what I got before. So then he sends me another picture of the label, and like, if someone sends you a picture of the label, they could still have the box. So I'm like, I'm not going to send the money until I see a proper receipt. And also he doesn't give his full address or full name on the label. He just gives his initial and his last name, and he gives an address but no postal code. So I look up the postal code through Canada Post. It doesn't show that that address exists. So I'm like, okay, that's weird because I see this address, but it's not where he claims he was from. So that doesn't make any sense. And I'm just wondering, like, where is this guy, like, where is he coming from? So then I ask him for a postal code. He sends me a postal code, and the postal code it checks out, but the address doesn't check out. So that is the postal code for that area, but there's no unit number for the number he gave me. So I was wondering, I'm like, this seems weird. Like, so I see the odd numbers on that road, but not the even numbers, and his was an even number. So it doesn't make sense because there's like an apartment complex that was in that vicinity, but not the number he told me. So I was like, okay, this is really weird, and I don't feel comfortable sending you the money. Um, and I sent him a screenshot of me looking it up on Canada Post. And I also sent him a screenshot of me looking it up on Google Maps. And I'm like, this place doesn't exist. Like, there's no address that you gave me. And then he insists, and he said that there's definitely that address because I live there. And then he goes on the offensive and says, you're making this more of a headache. It should just be he sends the shipping label and then I send the password. And he's like, he threatened to go back and pick up the package to stop the shipping. And I'm like, I understand, but the information you gave me doesn't check out. So from my perspective, it seems a little bit off. And I have a lot of vouchers, so I wouldn't risk it just for this one deal. And then he says he'll go pick it up. So which I assume he's gonna stop the package. And I'm like, okay, if you think that's the best, then I'm sorry the deal didn't work out. I was just under the impression that you'd ship it normally with the weight and tracking number on the receipt. Unfamiliar with the flat rate box, and since your address didn't check out, it sets off some red flags. If you're still willing to do the deal, we can wait until the package gets here and I can send you the password. I understand that you may feel as if you're at a risk for scam, but I assure you I won't risk my reputation on HopUp for this one deal. That being said, you have my name and address, so if I do end up scamming you, you can just call the police to investigate. You have my full information. It's against my best interest to scam you because I have HopUp vouchers and you have my full info. And then he blocks me. I just ordered an AK from HopUp, and this is what the guy sent me. It definitely doesn't look like there's an AK in here because the box is so small. Let's see what's inside. A Microsoft Surface with a bunch of stickers. I don't know if this thing works. Okay, a box or a bag of spare parts. This could come in handy. A jar full of chocolates and packing peanuts. Chocolates don't look really good. A portable speaker. I don't know if this works either, but it looks pretty worn. And a dummy D-bow. This thing's pretty cool. I like this. So this is what we got from the scammer. We got a Glock 18 nozzle, a high kappa sight, some piston heads, and some inner parts of the nozzle, an old Ace 1 Arms blowback unit, a hammer for high kappa, old stock trigger for the Glock, some internal parts for the high kappa, a bunch of Glock hammer springs, some Glock valve knockers, some pins, a bunch of hammers. I got this cool RMR cover plate for my Glock 34, and the D-Bal is actually functional, which I love even more. It's got a flashlight and a laser. I ended up mounting it on my TM AKM, which is now super heavy, almost 10 pounds. So cool thing, this Surface actually works. It just took me a while to disable the touchscreen because since there's a crack over here, it kept recognizing touch inputs when I wasn't touching it. So the Surface is fully functional minus the touchscreen, but I just disabled the touchscreen so it works like a regular computer, and I ended up installing Windows 10 on it. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned something from this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There are definitely some mistakes I made with this transaction, but luckily I didn't lose my money. I'll make a video on how to avoid scammers since I learned some lessons from this experience.